welcome to The Kelly Roach Show, a place for no fluff, easy to implement, 20-minute or less business and leadership lessons to help you build a sustainable business that scales. Let's get started. Welcome back to The Kelly Roach Show. Today we are talking about reevaluating your owner's compensation, and I have some fire for you today. Okay, so for all my listeners that are tax strategists, accountants, and even bookkeepers, you may want to put earmuffs on for today's episode because you're probably not going to like it and you're probably not going to agree. But I do have good reason for my thoughts on what I'm going to share. And so I hope you'll be open to a new perspective. So, common knowledge in entrepreneur land, or the common thought process in the world of entrepreneurship, is that owners should pay themselves as little as humanly possible just to stay off the radar of the IRS so that they don't overpay on taxes. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to break down why I feel that this is quite possibly the worst advice that you could ever take in your business and what the repercussions are for so many entrepreneurs because of it. So let's back up for just a moment. We have been diving into this season of kairos, of innovation, of really talking about not just how do we build these incredible businesses that glorify God, that are innovative, that are profitable, that are sustainable, that allow us to put our families first, but we want to build businesses that create an environment in which we can sustain our mental health. There. I said it. And this concept of owners paying themselves as little as humanly possible, I believe can cause a mental health crisis for someone. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So there are many components of what I'm going to cover today, and then I'll take you to the bottom line of so what, now what, because I have a lot to share. So the first thing is if you are a breadwinner in your family, or if you are one of the breadwinners in your family, so meaning there are other individuals besides you that count on your income to live, or you are responsible for the income that you live off of, it is very critical that you are on the payroll for enough to not only pay your bills, but to save, to invest, to live comfortably the lifestyle that you desire. And I love dividends, and I've been paying myself dividends, obviously, for many years. It has changed my life. It is incredible freedom to be able to have access to those dollars up front and then decide what you want to do with them and then pay taxes on it later. Like, I get all of that, and I love all of that, and I've been the beneficiary of it. However, I also keep myself on the payroll for enough to comfortably save, invest, vacation, pay all of our bills, take care of my family. And I'll tell you why I do that. Because as the breadwinner of my family, I know that over the course of my long, hopefully knock on wood, very long career in business, which I hope to be in business until I'm 85 years old. I'm building something that I love. I'm not building something that I'm trying to retire from. I know other people have a different perspective. That's totally cool too. But my mental health and my ability to stay mentally and physically well comes first, because I believe that longevity is more important ultimately than speed. And when it comes to owner's comp, your ability to know that regardless of wild swings and cycles in the economy and swings and cycles in the performance of your business or your team is a very important component of your mental health as a business owner, okay? And I think it's important to note that when you keep yourself on a very low owner's comp and then you're relying almost exclusively on dividends, if you get into a season where your team is underperforming, your dividends are going to go bye-bye really, really quick, right? And I think a lot of people are experiencing that this year, And so what happens is when your business isn't doing well and now you didn't put yourself prematurely on your payroll for enough to sustain and take care of your family without any stress, without any pressure, without any concern about finance, now what was a business problem is now a home life problem. Now something that was related to work is now related to family. So now instead of you having a struggle in one area of life, you have a struggle in all areas of life. Okay? So as we've been talking about so much on the podcast, if you are in business, I'll give the example of like Warren Buffett. I think they said Warren Buffett's been through like 16 recessions or something crazy like that, right? If you're in business for any amount of time, you're going to see all the seasons of expansion and contraction over and over and over again, because that's the economic cycle, which means you're going to see boom and you're going to see bust, and you're going to see boom and bust over and over again, right? And so you don't want every time the business is having a challenge for you also to be personally having a challenge at home, because now your mental health is going to be compromised. Then your physical health is going to be compromised. And then you are going to be completely useless at turning your business around. Okay? So this is just one small component of why I think that you need to think deeply about your owner's compensation in 2024. Okay? Because 2024 is going to be a very challenging year from a business climate perspective. There's a lot of, things that are coming up globally that are going to impact the world of business. And you need to be thoughtful about how you're setting yourself and your family up to be protected, because when there is a business challenge, the most important thing to overcome that business challenge is that mentally and physically and spiritually you're locked in, so that you have the mental acuity that is necessary to lead well, to overcome the challenges that you're dealing with, and then to make it over to the other side. So that's point number one. Now, point number two, my biggest passion is helping people to build scalable, self-led, sellable businesses and teams. And what do I mean by that? I have been running the Legacy Leaders Mastermind for, I think this is year 8 now, I want to say. I think we're in year 8. I was going to say season 8. I think we're in season 8 of the Legacy Leaders Mastermind, which is my very exclusive mastermind for businesses in the multi-millions. I have people from 2 million up over 13 million and growing very rapidly. And I've been running this for 7 years plus. And the goal is the sellable, self-led, self-autonomous team in a business that can exit, right? And what's really interesting is, just like myself, a lot of the leaders that are in the Legacy Leaders Mastermind are still earlier on in their careers and they're not ready to exit yet, which is great. I mean, I'm not ready to exit my businesses yet either, or I would be, right? They're not ready to exit yet, but the goal is to build something from day one that if and when an opportunity presents itself, or if and when it's time, that you're able to successfully exit, and that you've done things the right way and set up the foundation correctly to be able to exit. Now, one of the huge mistakes that so many business owners make, which are going to greatly diminish their ability to sell for a strong price, and also what removes all negotiating power, is that a lot of small business owners fool themselves into thinking that their business is profitable because they aren't paying themselves a reasonable wage. Now, here's how this backfires and blows up for small businesses. The first thing that someone's going to do is they're going to look at what you, the business owner, are doing in the business and whether or not the business has continuity without you. They're going to want to understand the power and the autonomy of your leadership team. Can your leadership team continue to run this business without you? What role are you playing? And the most important question that they're going to want answered right away is, what is it going to cost to replace you? What is it going to cost to replace you? So if you were to look at all the roles and all the responsibilities that you do in your business day to day, for some of you, you're doing 3 or 4 different jobs right now. So you would have to literally piece together the salaries of all the individuals that you would have to hire to replace yourself. And that's the amount that you should be paying yourself, because that's what they're going to have to spend to replace you anyway. Okay, I'm going to get to the sale price and how this is going to impact it in just a second. Secondly, for some of you, you are playing such a significant role in the business and haven't built a leadership team yet And therefore, like, you still are the business, right? So, when you think about this idea of owner's compensation, a lot of business owners go to begin the process of getting their business valuated. And they're shocked to find out that they thought their business was worth ABCXYZ based on EBITDA. And when the person that they are potentially considering selling to, or even the strategy firm that is doing the evaluation to get them prepared for sale, says, oh no, wait a minute, you're only paying yourself $30,000 a year. But in order to hire the 3 people that we need in order to replace you, because you're coaching in the programs, or you're facilitating the material, you're leading the team, you're doing sales, you're doing marketing, you're doing all these different things, oh, that's $1 million. So here you had it that your business was profitable by $1 million or $970,000. And they're saying, oh, no, you don't. Your business is not profitable by $970,000 because it's going to cost us $970,000 to replace the people that you need to do all of these different jobs. Right? Now, again, everybody's situation is completely different. There's no 2 situations that are going to be alike. But this is why I feel it is so important that you do not kid yourself about the profitability of your company. You need to pay yourself a salary that equates to the role that you're doing, so that when you look at the profit margin of your business, the bottom line, because revenue is for vanity and gross margin is for sanity. And we all know this. When you look at that P&L at the end of each month and you're looking at your profitability, I guarantee for so many people listening to the show today, if you paid yourself what you were worth and what you should be, allocating to your salary, and you revisited the margins of your business, you would not be satisfied and you would want to make a lot of dramatic changes in the business. Now here, this brings me to my 3rd key point of what it does when you underpay yourself and when you look at the margins of your business without you taking out the salary that you actually should be paid for the role that you're doing. So risk number 1 is your mental and physical health, because when the business has a bad month, or when your team underperforms in a launch, or when a situation arises where something out of your control happens, if you're not on the payroll, guess who doesn't get paid? And if you're on the payroll for barely a living wage and you're just assuming that you're going to collect that in dividends, but then something happens in the business, guess who's not getting those dividends? You. And that is going to unfold and snowball really quickly into a situation. And this is why so many people get knocked out of their businesses completely, because now it's not just a business and work problem. Now it's a home life problem. And then the whole thing implodes. Okay, that was point number 1. Point number 2 is it's going to dramatically reduce your ability to negotiate and to get the sale price that you want. So 1, you need to know your numbers for real. You need to know your profitability for real, not the profitability that is being fabricated by you underpaying yourself, but the profitability if you removed yourself completely from the business, someone was doing the role that you're doing or the roles that you're doing. What is the true profit of the business? Now, again, this is also very important because if you don't proactively have these numbers all correct and mapped out, and you get into a serious conversation with someone that's interested in having, a look at your business, and you don't do this in advance, you now lost all credibility. You're on your heels. You lost all negotiating power, and it's done. It's done because they have the upper hand now, because they are going to look at it from a savvy, very cutthroat, like black and white. It's not their baby. It's not their business that they spent a decade building, right? So you have to think of it from a dollars and cents standpoint. And their number 1 thing is assessing the probability of the continuity of profits. The probability of the continuity of profits. And this is why with all of the newer businesses that I'm building, I'm working very, very hard to play no role wherever possible in the day-to-day of the business, because I am working to build sellable companies that do not rely on me. And if I do a day-to-day job in the business beyond being the CEO or the founder, where I'm consulting on the strategy, I'm laying out the vision, I am giving the direction of the North Star and who we are and what we do and how we do it, once I get down in the trenches in the day-to-day and I start being a business operator again, it removes the autonomy of the staff. It removes and damages the independence and autonomy of that business being in a position to sell. Okay. Now, we talked about the difference between, the family impact and the breadwinner impact of being on the payroll for a reasonable amount versus relying on dividends. We talked about the negotiating power. We talked about the clear representation of the real true profits of the business. We talked about revenue is for vanity and gross margin is for sanity. And now I'm going to talk about the third most important component, which is that when you cover up poor performance in the business by you taking less payroll, it shields your ability to see what's going on in the business and make core changes and decisions that are necessary to take the business to the next level. And this perhaps is like the crown jewel of all mistakes that business owners make. They underpay themselves. They're not on the salary. They're not on the payroll for a reasonable amount based on the job that they're doing in the business. They don't truly understand what their real profit margins are, and they really don't have any profit because they're just underpaying themselves. And because of that, it makes it look like the business is doing better than it is. And this is one situation in which it does not help anyone. No one does it help for you to think your business is doing better than it is. In fact, it's very, very dangerous for it to look like the business is doing better than it is, because your ultimate job as the founder, as the CEO, is to keep the business in business. It's your number one job. Keep the business in business. Like, the game is staying in the game. Like, that literally is the game. That is the objective. Like, the compound effect of business profit over time is your best friend in building generational wealth. You don't have to get there fast. You don't have to do tremendously large numbers, but you have to stay in the game. And chances are you won't stay in the game if you misrepresent and misunderstand the profit margins of your business. And the most important thing of this entire conversation is that you could literally go out of business because you don't understand the poor performance of your team. You don't understand the poor performance of your business. You are not looking with clear eyes and honesty at what is truly happening in your organization, because it looks like everything's okay because you're just underpaying yourself enough that you're getting by, right? I would much rather you put yourself on the payroll for the amount that you need to make and then look around you and say, okay, this is where we are. This is the realistic state. Like, this is the bar. This is where we are. And then from there, you can decide, okay, what can I afford? What do I need? What does the business need? And what decisions do I need to make to get this business to the next level, right? But anything that clouds your ability to see that clearly is going to stand in the way of you making the right strategic decisions to grow. Now, I know the argument for paying yourself less on the payroll is to pay less taxes. And here's why that is completely ridiculous unless you're running like a $20 million plus company, okay? You're going to end up paying taxes at a certain level until you get to a certain level, until you start leveraging a debt matrix and all of these other things. If you get into real estate, there's all sorts of ways that you can, manipulate the numbers legally and reinvest and move the things around so that you can show less of a profit and all of that. And all of that is well and good. But you got to get to a certain level of wealth and profit before it even makes sense to do that. And for a lot of you, it doesn't make sense to do that. For a lot of you, it doesn't make sense to go into debt just so that you can show less profit, just so that you can pay less taxes. That sounds kind of insane when you hear me say that, doesn't it? And yet that's what most people do. They go into loads of debt so they can show less profit so that they can pay less taxes. Let's think about that for a second. So, just make sure that the way that you're pursuing your path is simple, that you understand it, that you can wrap your head around it, that it's good for you, it's good for your family, and that ultimately the decisions that you're making are allowing you to stay in the game for the long term. Now, we talk about this topic and so many other topics inside the Legacy Leaders Mastermind, which is my exclusive mastermind for businesses from $1 million plus up to 20 million, okay? If you have been looking for a mastermind for 2024 and beyond, you feel like maybe you've outgrown the coaches that you've worked with or the containers that you've been in, and you're really looking for a strategic high-level place to build new peers, to create a new circle of influence, to really learn how to build a sellable, self-led, company that you're one day going to be able to exit for a premium. And you want to work with myself on a weekly basis, as well as the strategists in our firm, to really put together that autonomous, self-led company and team. You can DM me on Instagram. You can just DM me the word legacy and I'll send you information, and then you can have a chat with someone on our team to see if it's right for you and to fill out an application. But I hope you'll reconsider what you're paying yourself in your business. And the so what, now what is understanding your owner's compensation is critical so that you position the business for profitable growth, so that you protect your family and home life first and foremost, and so that you truly understand the revenue versus the gross margin in your business, and that when you do go to sell one day, that you're able to get a fantastic ROI on your many years of hard work that is in alignment with your expectation, because the profits that you're representing are actually truthful. The profits that you're representing are actually there for the taking, and they're not going to be completely eaten up by simply replacing you in the business. And finally, having clear eyes about the performance of yourself and the team, the changes that you need to make, what your true margins are, is going to be fundamentally life-changing for you in stepping up as a CEO to lead your business to success. So I hope you'll get in touch with me. You can DM me at Kelly Roach Official, send me the word legacy, and I'll send you some information on the mastermind, and I hope to see you there.